nationalism in India. So it's the story that we are supposed to cover in this phase is all about coming of Gandhiji from South Africa in 1915. Then let me relate the story in 5 minutes. Let's revise the story first. So okay, basically Gandhiji, he came from South Africa on 9th January 1915. So when he came from South Africa, he basically bought a cake with him. Now what is this cake? The very first, of course, he wrote a book that you guys know. It's Hind Swaraj, that tells that yes, Britishers are here because you guys are cooperating with Britishers, and the minute you stop cooperating with Britishers, they're not going to have a hold of power and they're going to leave the country. So yes, he talked about that in his book Hind Swaraj. And what about this cake? So Gandhiji bought his cake. E stands for nothing. The very first event is Champaran. The second event is A is related to Ahmedabad mill worker strike, and K is Kheda Satyagraha. So these are the 3 events that you can remember in order with this good lovely cake acronym. It's Champaran, Ahmedabad and Kheda Satyagraha that Gandhiji got with him when he came from South Africa, if you tend to forget the order or sequence of event. So what happened when he came? So in India there was an act that was passed that's known as Rowlatt Act, was passed in 1919 by the Imperial Legislative Council, that without convicting a person, you can put a person in imprisonment for 2 years. And because of this, there was a sequence of event. There was Jallianwala Bagh massacre also that took place, and also Muhammad and Shaukat Ali had formed a Khilafat party because Britishers, after defeating the Ottoman Empire, had sort of removed the Khalifa or the Caliph from who's considered as the spiritual head of Britishers, and they installed their own power out there. So the sentiments of the Britishers living here in the country, in India, they sort of got agitated to the next level and they wanted to revolt against this step of Britishers. So because of this, Gandhiji launched a movement that is known as non-cooperation movement. So this movement was launched in 1921 after a lot of discussion took place in Calcutta session, in Nagpur session, and finally he sort of launched with the cooperation of Muslims and Hindus coming together. So he said, okay, non-cooperation movement is a movement that we are not going to cooperate with the Britishers. It's not like you guys are sitting in the class, you're not disturbing the decorum of the class, but at the same time you guys are not listening to the teachers, like you are not trying to cooperate. But the next level to non-cooperation movement is about, it's known as civil disobedience movement, where you try to distort the decorum of the class. The discipline is like you break the laws. So that is the movement. It got violent over the steps. Like for example, the first one was non-cooperation, then it was the civil disobedience movement, and then they launched straight away in 1942 it's Quit India movement, either do or die. So they said now we are done and we're going to launch Quit India movement. So it's like one step after the other. So non-cooperation movement, when it was launched, that means we are not going to take part in the election. We're not going to go to the school. We are going to boycott your cloth. We're going to boycott your stuff. So their import fell dramatically. Their revenue got down, and Britishers were so agitated on this that what's going wrong? Everybody is giving up their own titles. Nobody's going to the school. What are we going to do? So they sort of had a very strong repression. So what happened is that Chauri Chaura incident, by default it took place, where a lot of police personnels, they were set on fire in the police station by a violent mob. So Gandhiji was of the opinion, if anybody is going to slap you here, please offer the second cheek right here. So he said, what guys, what have you done? It's like you have given an opportunity, you've gone to the next level of violence and you've given an opportunity to Britishers so that they can put you right behind the bars. is this what you're going to, do? So he sort of, pulled out this non-cooperation movement, that I'm not going to follow this. You've made a big blunder. So the people who were against this decision, they sort of decided to contest in the election, and they formed their own party, that is Swarajist party, formed by Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das, who sort of contested in the elections. Then in 1927, there came a mission that is known as Simon Commission, that decided about the status of India's independence, what is going to be, how the transfer is going to take place, and stuff like that. But in 1929 December, Indians were done. They were not happy. They decided, okay, Gandhiji decided, I'm going to launch a Dandi March, because he had placed his 11 demands in place of, right in front of this Viceroy Irwin. So he never, reverted on his demands. So what Gandhiji said, he said, I with my 78 followers, I'm going to go all the way from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi coast, and this salt that you guys are putting a tax on, I'm going to declare it as a symbol of freedom. I'm going to manufacture it, I'm going to use it, whatsoever the case may be. Since you're not coming back with my answers, nothing of that sort is going on. So he said, I'm going to do that. Next, what happened is, after that Dandi March, he said, now I'm going to launch a civil disobedience movement. Just before he could do that, there was a meeting that was decided, a 3 roundtable conference is going to take place. So Gandhiji did not attend the first roundtable conference because he was not very happy about the whole concept of the meeting. He, however, was forced to attend the second roundtable conference after a meeting with Irwin, after they sort of declared each other that, okay, we're going to conceptually allow each other's, accept each other's demand. And then he came back before the third roundtable conference started. However, there's just one person, that's B.R. Ambedkar, who sort of attended all the 3 roundtable conference. And imagine, towards the end of this, not only the Britishers came up with Government of India Act 1935, but also awarded communal award to B.R. Ambedkar, that now Hindus are going to be divided into 2 sections, the general and the reserved section. In reserved section, people are going to elect their own representatives. It's like divide and split policy that is being followed among the Hindus also. So at that time, Gandhiji was in Pune jail, and finally a Poona Pact was signed between B.R. Ambedkar and Gandhiji in 1932, so that we can allow some sort of reservation and not go into a process like that. So that's the entire summary that I wanted to show right in front of you. So quickly, let's get started with the question answer, guys. Okay, so the very first question is, describe any 4 economic factors or effects of non-cooperation movement. Like I told you, we are not going to cooperate with you. That means we're going to boycott the foreign cloth. We're going to boycott the foreign, I'm not going to take anything, because of which even the traders and merchants refuse that we are not going to trade with you. It's done. And even, people started coming up with their own sort of cloth. Indian industries, handlooms got a big push because of it, because people anyway are going to wear cloth. And just because they don't have any other option, they'll have to come up with their own set of industries or mills that's going to help them grow in business. So these are the 4 important clauses. Before you jump onto the economic effects, I would expect that you guys please make sure that you mention about non-cooperation movement that was launched in 1921. And then kickstart with the set of questions. All right. Okay. Next question is why did non-cooperation movement gradually slow down in the cities? Explain 3 reasons. See, if you don't opt for going for ice cream and go to a Thela ice cream, you don't want to go for that Thela ice cream, you want to go for the Baskin Robbins, of course you need to have credit for that in your account. So if you're boycotting the foreign cloth, you need to have an alternative, and in this case it was khadi. That was quite expensive because the milk cloth, the poor people could not afford it. Second, if you are revolting against some person, your social studies teacher back at your school who never gives you credit, you should have a viable second option where you can get a source of information from. Similarly, if you are decided to boycott the foreign institutions, you should have your own set of institutions for that matter, which Indians did not have. And similarly, the Indian courts that the lawyers refused to go or not to attend, there should have been a separate mechanism of justice, and slowly and steadily it was observed that everybody had to kickstart their own life. They had to get back to their life. The momentum cannot be kept for long. Right? So that is why we couldn't, this movement kind of slowed down. It's like this, everything has a peak associated, a peak sort of cycle, and then it's going down. For example, it goes like this. So morning 6 a.m. you guys are that energetic. Evening 6 p.m. you guys are again energetic. 9 p.m. your energy goes here. 12 a.m. your energy goes here, and then down. So it's like every movement, like you guys have your energy cycle, every movement also has its own respective energy cycle. So that is why the people, because they couldn't sustain for long without jobs, without other institutions or other alternatives, so anyway they had to pull themselves back and out of the movement. I hope that's clear to you. Let's jump on to the next question. Explain the circumstances under which Gandhiji decided. Oh, we just talked about it. Why did he decide to call off the civil disobedience movement? So, a big disclaimer, guys. The information here is that Gandhiji, he sort of called off the movement, but if you talk about the real story, Gandhiji actually did not call off the movement. When he went to attend the second roundtable conference, he came back, he started again the agitation. And then finally, after a lot of brutal repression that was made by the government and the police, and all the important leaders were arrested in April 1930, and even all the demonstrations were made, declared illegal. A lot of people died. Is when Gandhiji was even arrested, then he decided to call off the movement. So coming back to this answer, so by the end of 1930, civil disobedience, of course, it spread. It's like you're breaking the laws. So colonial government, in order to ensure that they can retain in the country for long, they sort of started arresting the political leaders, and there was a very violent clash. A very important name in this case that you guys have to mention is, please kindly talk about Abdul Ghaffar Khan. He's also known as Frontier Gandhi. His followers are known as Red Shirt Disciplines. So what happens is, when Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who was a big devotee of Gandhi, known as Frontier Gandhi, when he was arrested, so the crowd got really, I told you Frontier Gandhi, that means the crowd on the streets of Peshawar. So when you're answering this, please ensure that you underline this and this. So they got really angry. So a lot of people probably died in that clash, and even a lot of industrial workers in Solapur, they attacked the police stations, the municipalities. So second case is industrial workers. So this is the first case. This is the second point, that industrial workers of Solapur, they attacked the police post, municipal buildings, and which sort of represented the British government. They attacked all those buildings. So the British, they didn't like it. So the British started a policy of repression to bring them down, to bring the mob under control, the violence under control. So even the people who were sitting for the peaceful Satyagraha, they started attacking them. So under these circumstances and all the situation that was going violent and out of control, is when Gandhiji decided that, okay, I'm going to call off the movement. And then he had signed the Irwin Pact, Gandhi-Irwin Pact in 1931.